Last week I made a video about what's next for Pokemon games for both realistic changes as well as what I would like to see Game Freak try to innovate next. And I wanted to do a follow-up video to compare Legends Arceus to Scarlet and Violet to see how these two games stack up against each other. Why don't you join in and let's have a discussion about this down below in the comments. Let's get the less than ideal stuff out the way first. I'll be skipping the performance issues, bugs and glitches because both games launched in a poor state. So then that brings me to the visuals. Both games don't look nearly as good as what we should be expecting from the world's most grossing franchise. Both games have poor graphics, textures and models. When I played Legends Arceus for the first time, I remember seeing all the comparisons to Breath of the Wild, thinking it's the first time Game Freak have attempted an open world, so I can forgive them for this. I can accept the lack of trees and how terrible they looked because the gameplay looks so good, but Scarlet and Violet left me bewildered. It's obvious that this game just wasn't ready to be released yet. Just look at the land textures. It makes the world feel like it was stitched together overnight with little attention to detail. On that note, the shops being just menus is really shoddy. There is a severe lack of customization for your player, as you can only change your accessories because you are stuck wearing a school uniform. And don't get me started on that sandwich eating animation. It even feels like the Pokemon Center got downgraded. Now, Legends Arceus didn't have any sandwich eating animations, but at least the shops were pretty serviceable and customization was great. You were able to change your clothes and unlocked more items as you completed more quests. It would be interesting to find out exactly how much development time and how resources were allocated for these games, seeing as they were released in the same year and ultimately would have been worked on side by side. Okay, now we got the negatives out the way, let's talk about the story. Legends Arceus is set in Hisui, which is an old version of the region we know today as Sinnoh. The game begins with the player being transported through a rift in space by the god Pokemon Arceus. You join the Galaxy Expedition Team's Survey Corps with the hopes of completing the very first Pokedex by researching and catching Pokemon. To be honest, the story isn't much to write home about. In the last few Pokemon games, I've found myself to be caring less and less about the story and more about just enjoying myself in the world. In Scarlet and Violet, your journey begins by joining the Academy. You'll take part in the annual treasure hunt in which you set out to explore the region of Paldea. There are 3 storylines that you can complete in any order. You have Victory Road, which is taken on the 8 gym leaders and the Elite Four. The Path of Legends, where you encounter the Titan Pokemon. And finally, the Starfall Street, where you'll be battling against Team Star and their leaders. I haven't finished Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, so I cannot speak for the story, but I've been hearing that it has the best story in a Pokemon game to date. I'm looking forward to seeing how the story develops. Moving on to the open world, both games are fun to traverse around. In Scarlet and Violet, you are truly free to go anywhere, which gave the player the freedom that many of us Pokemon fans have been asking for. In my personal experience, I have felt a bit lost at times, as I'm not sure what order I should take on objectives. I seem to be stuck with the linear mindset that I expect from a Pokemon game. Honestly, I think Scarlet and Violet caused me some serious choice paralysis. Luckily, we have Nurse Joy to help us. She will give you an idea of what you should try next and even marks the location on your map. Now, there are plenty of towns to visit with unique aesthetics, but there isn't anything really to do in them. You cannot enter most of the buildings. All I've been able to do so far is go to the shops and take on gyms. And speaking of gyms, I do love the new approach. Before you can battle a gym leader, you must complete a trial or a challenge. However, the gym challenges do leave a lot to be desired. I've pushed an olive around to a goal and played hide and seek with some flora, and to be honest, I'm disappointed in the lack of creativity, but at the same time I understand it may be difficult to implement mechanics specifically for the gyms alone. I have also heard that there is no Victory Road, which is blasphemous if you ask me. Bring back Victory Road with the amazing game music to get you hyped for the Elite Four. Legends Arceus is not open world like Scarlet and Violet, but has open-ended areas which you unlock once you gain a certain amount of stars and increase your rank. This semi-linear structure resonated with me more, but I guess that's just because of what I'm used to with previous Pokemon games. I'm sure that with the experience Game Freak has gained with the last 2 titles, the next open world structure will be miles better. It does bug me that every time you want to go to another location, you have to go to Jubilife Village first. And speaking about Jubilife Village, it's the only town in Legends Arceus, and this one town is better than all the other towns in Scarlet and Violet, as it is filled with content and interesting NPCs. You will see Pokemon you of course teleport in a closed off area, and the town develops over time once you've helped out with certain side quests. It's just a shame that it's the only town in the game. I think they have designed it really well and it would have been nice to see more of them. Both games feature a variety of different locations with varied weather patterns as you would expect from a Pokemon game. In terms of gameplay, Scarlet and Violet's battling and catching systems function the same way as previous mainline titles. This time around you have the addition of quick battles, where the first Pokemon in your party will be walking around in the overworld with you, and you can command them to battle wild Pokemon to gain XP for the team and items for crafting TMs. Another new addition is Terrestrialization, which when activated, Pokemon can change their type depending on what Terra type form they have. You can only Terrestrialize one of your Pokemon and then the Terra Orb needs to be recharged at the Pokemon Center, so it cannot be used per battle like Dynamax or Mega Evolution. This brings new strategies to the game, as you never know what Pokemon in your rival's party is going to Terrestrialize and you don't know what Terra type it has. With Terrestrialization being implemented, we also get Terra Raids, which are similar to the raids in Pokemon Sword and Shield, but instead of Dynamax Pokemon, you have Terrestrialized Pokemon. You can find Pokemon with different Terra type forms in the wild. You will be able to spot them by looking for a yellow beam of light as well as the Pokemon being sparkly. Scarlet and Violet shakes up the formula, but Legends Arceus really changes things up. Firstly, it's an action RPG, so there are a lot of differences to the mainline games. Pokemon can attack and damage you, and if you take too much damage, it's curtains. The battle system had the addition of agile and strong style moves, so depending on your Pokemon's speed and what type of style you pick, the order in which Pokemon attack first changes. So effectively, you could attack a Pokemon multiple times before they get their turn, simply because your Pokemon had the greater speed and you selected the agile style of the move. Agile moves allow you to attack quicker but are less powerful, whereas stronger moves hit harder but are slower and can lead to you taking multiple hits. This made me carefully plan out my attack, especially when you get to the later stages, as there is a bit of a difficulty spike. You can also move around as well while your Pokemon is battling, which is really cool. My favourite thing about Legends Arceus is the catching mechanic. You can sneak through the grass and throw your Pokeballs to catch Pokemon, which has always been a dream mechanic of mine. I was disappointed to see that it didn't return in Scarlet and Violet. Without it, I feel a little bit more disconnected from Pokemon, as I'm no longer taking an active involvement in the battling or capturing. And it begs the question, why was the quick battle mechanic added instead of the capturing mechanic to Scarlet and Violet? Well, Legends Arceus is focused around completing the first Pokedex and catching loads of Pokemon quickly, right? By catching loads of Pokemon quickly, you could get XP fast. This isn't the focus for Scarlet and Violet, but if Game Freak remove the capturing mechanic, they would be taking away a mechanic which allows us to gain XP fast, causing the game to be more of a grind. So they replaced it with a quick battle mechanic which allows you to beat loads of Pokemon quickly instead. I haven't used the quick battle mechanic a lot. I feel as it defeats the purpose of why I play the Pokemon games. I enjoy battling Pokemon and I rarely find myself having to grind for XP by battling wild Pokemon anyway. The only reason I may use it when it's not mandatory is to quickly get items to sell for points so I can get Pokeballs if I'm short on money. Looking back at both games, I can safely say that I've had more fun with Legends Arceus. However, Scarlet and Violet is still a great game. Is there any mechanics you wish were carried over from Legends Arceus, or do you think Scarlet and Violet are superior to Legends Arceus? Tell me how you feel in the comments below. Thank you for sticking around throughout this video, and if you really enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe. My name is Jammer and I'll speak to you soon.